Hey guys, MSG Retired here. You guys have been blowing up my inbox in regards to an individual on YouTube who goes by Fraudit Wrangler, also known as Michael William Kiser. Michael's been making a lot of military claims on his YouTube channel, and a lot of veterans had questions about it because most of them really didn't make a lot of sense. So I took a look. I had numerous video clips sent to me. I had numerous screenshots of claims he's made. And of course, I always go out and take a look just to see what's going on before I even think about doing the dive on it. And after looking at some of it, he said he had 3 tours in Afghanistan, and there's just so much stuff out there, and it's so convoluted. There's so many different people covering it and looking at it. And so I decided to take the deep dive. And I've been doing stolen valor investigations for quite a while. I've got a folder just full of Freedom of Information Act requests. And this one piqued my interest, and I said, yeah, I'll go ahead and do it. A lot of people are like, oh, get Don Shipley involved. Well, Don deals with Navy SEALs. Occasionally, he will dip into special forces or like Marine Corps Force Recon phonies, stuff like that. Or Steve over at Guardians of the Green Beret, they only really dig into special forces people that are claiming special forces. But I work with Steve every now and then. I'm an asset for him. He's an asset for me. I can do things and get things for him. He can get things for me. I also have contacts with HRC out of Fort Knox. I also have contacts that have access to the ATARS database, which is the Army training system. Any school, any ATAR school that you had been to, you're in that database, period. So there are no secret squirrel schools in the military. So if they said all my records are classified and all that stuff, it's bogus. I've talked about this in the past, but Michael caught my attention with some of the things that he said and done and spewed. And so I decided to go ahead and do the deep dive. And I was provided information that I finally got his correct date of birth, his social, that kind of stuff. And it's freely available on the internet or by pay service to some data collection agencies that have all that information. Anyway, it was provided to me, and I vetted that information. And the first thing I do is, pursuant to the Service Member Civil Relief Act, or SCRA, SCRA, there is a public database that's available for anyone. You can go on there, set up an account, and you can research people's active duty time. So he was claiming from 2000 to 2008, and then he was med boarded either 2008, 2009, whatever. I've heard multiple different time frames. So I did the deep dive on the Department of Defense Manpower Database, also known as SCRA. And what I found was the first one I looked at, this is dealing with his U.S. Army Reserve time. It was pretty short. Actually, it was very short. And he did show up. It was for the Army Reserve. And he had an active duty start date of June 18th, 1998. So through another Freedom of Information Act request to the National Guard, they actually provided me a copy of his U.S. Army Reserve DD-214, and I have that here. it's been redacted. So Kiser, Michael William, U.S. Army Reserve, grade, rate, or rank, PV1, E1, pay grade. He was with B Company, 2nd of the 10th Infantry TRTC, which is a BCT company at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. So he was in basic training and released. The date entered active duty service, exact match to the SIRA database, 1998-06-18. And he was separated. Now, his separation date this period was July 22nd, 1998. He had a total period of service, or a net active service this period, 1 month and 5 days. So he had total prior inactive service. So he spent 14 days before he left to go to basic training. And there's nothing else listed there. No overseas, no foreign service, no sea service. And he had a data rank of June 4th, 1998. So that's when he signed his contract, I believe, and became a private PV1. So decorations, medals, badges, citations, and campaign ribbons awarded or authorized. He has none. Nothing follows. His military education, course title, number of weeks and months and year completed. He has none, and nothing follows. Now, in the remarks, member has not completed first full term of service. Nothing follows. So it's a very empty DD-214. And he did sign it. And type of separation was a discharge. And it was uncharacterized. Now let's talk about uncharacterized discharges. So what that is an entry-level separation or uncharacterized discharge are given to individuals who separate prior to completing 180 days of military service, or when the discharge action was initiated prior to 180 days of service. This type of discharge does not attempt to characterize service as good or bad. So it doesn't mean he get out bad conduct or anything like that. It's just uncharacterized. He wasn't in the military long enough for them to even have an opinion on his service. And it was for a medical drop. So it was very nice of the National Guard to provide that to me. I'm assuming he submitted that in order to get into the National Guard. So that's part of the packet I'm putting together just to see where this goes. Because he has been collecting for veterans organizations, or that's what I get from his YouTube channel, from his About or whatever. And people have been donating to him to give to veterans organizations. Guys, cut out the middleman. That keeps people from scamming you. If you're going to give to DAV or any other veteran organization, give directly to them. You don't need a middleman to do it. All right? Just saying. So the next part of service that was checked in ATARS was in 2005, and it was with the Army National Guard. So again, I jump out there, I check pursuant to Service Members Civil Relief Act, the Department of Defense Manpower Data Center and their database do a check, and active duty start date of March 1st, 2005, and active duty end date November 29th, 2005. Army National Guard, yes. It's available. Go get yourself an account. All you need is a date of birth, usually. If it's a common name, it's best if you go ahead and get one of these paid services or investigative services to go ahead and try and get you a social security number. It just makes it 100% on point. And again, I vet all of my data. So National Guard Bureau, they send me a copy of NGB Form 22. Now, the one piece of the puzzle that's missing here is his DD-214, where he was discharged from basic training. I don't have that for this term of service. I do have his discharge, his NGB Form 22 from the National Guard. I also have a copy of the orders. Just doing some redactions here that they may have missed. I do have a copy of the National Guard orders that were cut, order number 038-580. And I also have his NGB Form 23B, which is a Army National Guard retirement points history statement, which pretty much highlights everything. And just want to make sure that there is nothing else. Not that you're going to be able to see it on the video. And I'm not going to post pictures of this stuff because I'm just not going to do it. I'm not even going to turn on comments for this video because I don't need to listen to a bunch of people babble about bullshit. I'm putting this out there as vetted, verified data and information. And like I said, the investigation's not complete until my Freedom of Information Act request comes back from NPRC St. Louis. Hopefully, they provide a redacted copy of the DD-214 from the second part of his service here. He was separated, and he never went back to the National Guard and gave them copies of the paperwork where he was separated. But he did receive, I guess, and the reason he was separated was for medical. While he was on active duty going through basic training, he received a disability, which would account for his VA disability. So he was given a severance pay from the National Guard and discharged. So I'm going to go over the NGB 2022 form right here, which is the National Guard discharge paperwork. And, let's see, date of enlistment, 2004, 12, December 15th, rank of PV1, grade of E1, date of rank, again, 2004, 12, 15. It's got his date of birth. And he was supposed to go to the 214th MP Company, Combat Support, Det 1. With an effective date 2005 11/30. However, his record of service, command to which transferred, there isn't one. It says NA because he never transferred to a command. So he never completed his basic training. Net service this period, 0 years, 11 months, 16 days. Prior reserve component service, 14 days. Prior active federal service, 1 month and 5 days. Total service for pay, 1 year, 1 month, 5 days. And total service for retired pay, 1 year, 1 month, and 5 days. So the NGB Form 22 is a little bit different than a DD-214. Military education, none. Military specialty, number, title, and or date awarded, none. So he never completed an MOS. They never did the background investigation because as an MP, you have to have a secret clearance. And it states here, the NGB Form 22 mailed to soldiers' last known address as shown in item 19, which is redacted. Active duty service this period. List the dates. Service member did not complete IADT phase 1 and phase 2. Active duty service this period, basic and AIT. It lists the dates. Service member did not complete IADT phase 1 and phase 2. Service member is authorized to receive disability severance pay. That's because he received a disability while he was on active duty, and he received not a lot of money. I'm not going to disclose the amount that he received. And again, the character of service is uncharacterized, and he wasn't given a certificate, and it's got his reenlistment eligibility, which he's not eligible without a waiver. They sent me a copy of the official orders. Kiser Michael William, PV1, 214th MP Company. But here's where it says attached to the Army National Guard recruiting and retention. And they're always attached to their recruiting and retention until they complete basic training, AIT, and go to their unit. So he never actually showed up at the 214th MP Company Detachment 1. You are discharged from the Army National Guard and as a reserve of the Army. Effective date 30 November 2005, uncharacterized type of discharge. So that's the official government order. Again, order number 038580. And then we also have the National Guard retirement's points history. His active duty points were a total for both service dates between the reserve and the guard of 316, which is 1 point per day. He had a total of 340 total career points. Total points for retirement pay, 340. And that was as of, let's see, grand totals. And this form was, they generated this form from my FOIA request. So, and I will be truthful, they got back to me really quick. Now, I love the National Guard, especially when you outline the reasoning behind it, where people are making military claims that don't coincide with their actual military service. So you could take this information for face value. You can believe me. You don't have to. I don't care. But like I said, my inbox blew up over this guy. And after I sat and watched some of his stuff and Stone Vet, Josh doesn't have a filter. If you haven't realized that, he's a stand-up guy, but doesn't have a filter, and he's all over the place. Brother in arms, and he did some pretty crazy stuff. He was one of those intel guys, so he's kind of cuckoo. And but I mean, I had tons of people reach out to me about this, and yeah, so they've called him on it, and I guess his buddy that's on a lot of his YouTube videos is a Navy veteran. He did show his DD-214. Michael doesn't want to show his DD-214s, at least the one for the reserve. There's nothing on it, and I'm sure the one where he was discharged with a disability, I'm sure he doesn't want to show that one either, because I did see one place where he said he was a staff sergeant or implied that he was a staff sergeant. Yeah. Private Kiser. Knock that shit off, okay? I mean, basically, you're really skirting federal law here when it comes to stolen valor. You're asking people to donate because it's going to be donated to veterans organizations. And yeah, you're going to get yourself in a really deep pot of boiling water, and you're not going to be able to get out. And I'm going to be keeping an eye on this because I can very easily probably formulate probable cause for a state attorney's office to file charges in regards to this. Don't know if they will or not. Stolen valor is really hard to get prosecuted. But I mean, if you're taking any of that money that you say you're collecting for veterans organizations based on your military service claims, dude, just knock that shit off. All right? Knock it off. We're done. Okay? If you like the content, guys, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Give me a thumbs up on the video. Hey, as always, have yourself a great day. And if you have suspicions about somebody, reach out. If it's warranted, I'll be more than happy to look into it. But, you know, I don't do a lot of these anymore because I get so frustrated with the lack of prosecution on it, especially with the whole DeWitt thing. And, yeah, so, hey, have yourself a great day.